Welcome, and thank you for joining here today. After brief opening remarks, members will receive testimony from our witnesses today, and then the hearing will be open to member questions. Members will be recognized in order of seniority, alternating between majority and minority members, and in order of arrival for those members who have joined us after the hearing was called to order. When you are recognized, you will be asked to unmute your microphone and will have 5 minutes to ask your questions or make a comment. If you are not speaking, I ask that you remain muted in order to minimize background noise. In order to get as many questions as possible, the timer will stay consistently visible on your screen. In consultation with the ranking member and pursuant to Rule 11E, I want to make members of the subcommittee aware that other members of the full committee may join us today. Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for participating today on the first hearing in the 117th Congress of the Subcommittee on Nutrition, Oversight, and Department Operations. I am honored to serve as chairwoman of this crucial subcommittee and want to publicly express my full commitment to crafting impactful, lasting policy. Before beginning the substance of today's hearing, I want to emphasize to my colleagues on this subcommittee that our work will require bipartisan engagement and cooperation. Over this Congress, we will be tasked with evaluating our response to COVID-19, leading our communities out of this concurrent crisis, and tackling a new farm bill. I am steadfast in my commitment to ensuring everyone has a seat at the table as we approach these monumental tasks. I look forward to working with the ranking member, Mr. Bacon, and all of the other members on this subcommittee. Please know that my door is always open to you. In addition to my distinguished friends and colleagues on the subcommittee, we are very pleased and grateful to welcome a panel of experts today. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to introducing you and hearing your testimony shortly. The title of today's hearing, The Future of SNAP, Moving Past the Pandemic. The purpose of this hearing is to recount the lessons we have learned about food insecurity and nutrition access during the COVID-19 crisis, and also to use those lessons as a roadmap for closing the glaring gaps in policy, which left so many Americans food insecure in the first place. After witnessing the events of the past 15 months, there should be no doubt about the tremendous need for SNAP and other nutrition programs. Temporary increases to SNAP benefits and accommodations made to state administrators, along with creative approaches to feeding students learning from home, and the amazing work of food banks across the country, have helped to guard against the worst consequences that should have occurred during this concurrent health and economic crisis. The built-in responsiveness of SNAP to shifting economic conditions has supported working families who during this crisis found themselves in uncertain economic conditions. Thankfully, efforts to expand and strengthen the nutrition safety nets have for the most part succeeded. As we will hear from our panel of expert witnesses today, SNAP during COVID has been crucial for those suddenly without an income, as well as parents forced to choose between a job and caring for their children in remote school. Ms. Davis and Ms. Wilson will testify to the strain of a household suddenly without the means to provide. Doctors Bauer and Boynton Jarrett will offer data and clinical evidence of the precarious situation created by the pandemic, especially for women and children, and how nutrition assistance is essential. Mr. Whitford, Executive Director of Water Gardens Ministries in Missouri, will talk about the charity work of his mission and work training centers. This testimony, I hope, will help to illustrate what I know to be true from firsthand experience, that SNAP is a hand up and not a handout for Americans thriving to achieve self-sufficiency. Today's testimony will show that fear of hunger is an is not an economic motivator. It is an obstacle to success and a threat to public health. And that hunger does not discriminate. It exists in every one of our districts. Hunger affects our friends, our neighbors, the elderly, the disabled, single mothers and working fathers, and people of all races and beliefs. During this hearing, I am sure we may also hear some concerns about the SNAP program. Things like SNAP discourages work, that emergency allotments and a 15% increase in benefits are too expensive, that there's fraud within the program that requires quality control measures. While anecdotally, those things at times may be true, these programs do work and they are a lifesaver. I know this because they saved my life. As a young mother, I worked 2 jobs and attended school, and I still qualified for benefits. SNAP allowed me to put food in my children's mouth while I worked my way towards economic stability. Even when I'm stable and could support my family, my commitment towards making sure that people had access to food continued. As a missionary in my church, I worked with the Bread of Life ministry for many years to promote feeding hungry people around the world. And as a volunteer in my community, I've spent countless hours at local food banks. That memory of the stress and the threat of hunger for my children remains a reality for me. And I take it into work as chairwoman of this subcommittee. My lived experiences have shown me that SNAP and other safety net programs are not just handouts for people unwilling to work towards self-sufficiency. They are critical supports which ensure that hunger is not another obstacle in the way of Americans striving for stability. On this subcommittee, we have a unique opportunity to ensure that these supports are strengthened for Americans in each of our districts. I am excited about this work, and I look forward to continuing to deliver on this promise for the American people. With that, I want to once again welcome all of you today and give a special thanks to our panel for sharing their time and expertise.